Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. You are listening to Seemakhan on Seemakhanlifevlogs. Welcome everyone to this sunny day in London. You are listening to Seemakhan broadcasting live from London. Now let me just first apologise. Had some technical difficulties, so I apologise that we have not been able to stick to the 12 o'clock programme. But anybody who is now joining in, welcome everyone. This is going to be a really good show, inshallah. It's covering a topic that many viewers, friends, and family have been interested in. This is Muslims in love and marriage. We will today be looking at the process of getting married itself. How can we, as Muslims in the modern society, deal with the halal ways and issues of getting married and having and finding love in Islam in a halal way? Second part, we will be looking at the practical issues that modern day Muslims are dealing with. What are the barriers? What are the difficulties that we are all dealing with, both as parents and as people who are looking to get married? And number three, as always, I will be giving you some solutions where we can combine the two, where we can deal with the problems and we can still find love and marriage in a halal way. So let's get started. We've got a lot to cover. Anybody who wants to comment and give and their input as to what they think are the issues that we're dealing with, please give us a comment, give us a wave, and let me know. What do you think? What are the issues that we're facing? And we'll be looking at both here for people who are living out of their own homeland, people, Desis in London, in USA, away from home, in Australia, in other places, and also the issues that are relevant to Muslims in Pakistan, in India, in Bangladesh, and all the Middle East countries as well. So let's get started. We will need to get started and talk first and clarify. Because one of the biggest questions that I have been asked is, what is actually right and wrong? Like, what is the process of getting married in a halal way? And when we do it in a halal way, when we do it the correct way, are we then going to be able to get what it is that we want to achieve? So I'm not going to go through, there's plenty of lectures on YouTube with the muftis and the sheikhs and the alamas explaining what the right and wrongs are, but we will just cover briefly first what it is that we need to be sure about that we can or can't do when we are looking for a partner, either for ourselves or when we're looking for a partner for our own selves. And if we are the child, as in we are the person that's looking to get married, how can we communicate and how can we communicate to our parents and how can the parents communicate with us as to what is the right and wrong of the process? So the first thing we're going to look at is, how do you actually carry out the marriage process? Well, the marriage process in Islam is all about finding a suitable partner that you are firstly attracted to, that is compatible with you, and also is going to fit in with your family, because it's families getting married together, and at the same time, someone that you can and do want to fall in love with. Now, the biggest question that often arises is, how can you get to know someone and still be able to know whether you will be able to fall in love with them? This is a big thing that has arisen because of the issues that we have, the way we've been brought up. Hollywood, Bollywood, the media, all of us surrounding us often tell us that the only way that we can actually find love would be to really get to know someone. Islam doesn't really believe in that. What Islam goes for is to look for someone who's compatible and has got a character and has got the beauty and attractiveness that you like, but in Islam, you are allowed to basically meet with the person as many times as you like. In fact, meet them for 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. But the restrictions in Islam are that you meet with a chaperone. And another point, chaperone means कि एक दूसरा बंदा, there needs to be, मतलब है एक और बंदा like your parent or your sister or your auntie or somebody that you really trust should be present whilst you're communicating. And we will talk in a minute about why these things are in place and why it's so important that you have a chaperone. I know it is really, really difficult in this modern society because of the way we've been brought up that, you know, how can you get to know someone when it's present? But this, remember, is all about protecting the marriage itself and making the marriage successful. So we will talk in a few minutes about that. Now, love in marriage, finding love, how can we ensure that we will be able to fall in love with this person and this is someone that we can love? Does love come before marriage? Does it come after marriage? Now we need to be very, very clear about what Islam says about love, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has actually said that He has put love and mercy between the hearts of spouses. Now let's be very clear about this. He's put love and mercy between the hearts of spouses, not your boyfriend, not your fiance. It's a special, special relationship. The love that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts comes with the mercy. Mercy को आप कह सकते हैं एक दूसरे का लिहाज करना, एक दूसरे का लिहाज करना और रहम करना on the basis of the nikah itself. So the mercy and love comes with the basis that you have done nikah with each other. Now, how many times does love disappear or mercy disappears in a relationship where you've not yet got married? Because you haven't got that bond yet. You have not, in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and not in the eyes of society, whereas marriage is a marriage contract, you have not yet put yourself forward. You have not yet made those commitments. Now, we have to understand that sometimes, because we live in this modern society, we may not like the rules of Islam, but we must trust, right? We must trust Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that the rules that He's put in place about getting married and finding love are there to protect us. And they are there to help us to find love and to be successful in our marriages. Now, a lot of people जो से रहते हैं abroad and overseas, one of the most जो से सबसे ज़्यादा difficulty आती है is often कि हमें एक ना identity crisis होता है जो से UK USA में और abroad रह रहे हैं. एक बात तो ये है कि जब हम younger होते हैं हम confused हो जाते हैं कि culture क्या है और religion क्या है. I have to be honest with you. When I was younger, so I'm a Pakistani who was born in Pakistan. I was 3 years old when we moved to Scotland. So you can say I've been born and bred in Scotland. And what I can say to you is, as a Pakistani growing up in the UK, I did not know the difference between culture and religion. मुझे ये नहीं पता था. I had no idea. So it's only as I got older that we started questioning our parents. So I mean, I remember one of the shadis that I went to when I was younger, when I had no idea. I must have been about 12 at the time, and I went to a shadi in Pakistan, and I had no idea what was the difference between culture and religion. Kya jaiz hai, kya na jaiz hai, what is right in Islam, what is wrong in Islam. So I went to this Punjabi wedding, and they had the whole thing going on. They had like the dulan, she's like stepping over rui ki bode, throwing chawal over her shoulder, putting the lights on and off so that Lakshmi will come in the home. And these are Muslim weddings, right? So what we have to do is we have to educate ourselves. Firstly, we have to educate ourselves as to what is the process of marriage, and secondly, we then have to educate ourselves the marriage itself, the wedding, what is the right process, and then we have to educate ourselves as to what are the rights and obligations within marriage. So there is so much to cover, but let's go back to the main issue and topic of today, which is Islam does not give any kind of restriction on ethnicity, or race or any kind of discrimination, and Islam gives a choice to people who want to get married to choose who they want to get married to. There is no such thing as a forced marriage, but there is such a thing as an arranged marriage. An arranged marriage is when the parents are consulting with their child कि देखो so and so रिश्ता है, do you like so and so, right? And I think what I am hearing on the ground is that Islam actually allows people to meet again, to see each other, to speak to each other, एक दूसरे को समझे, families एक दूसरे को समझे, people to understand. But when I talk to people about this, how Islam freely allows this, remember with the chaperone though, so none of this, please, can I take your daughter out to the cinema and sit in the back row? No, that's not what it's about. It is about really getting to know someone, the families, meeting and being able to talk to each other, understanding each other's compatibility, understanding कि मतलब है आपके ज़ेन मिलते हैं, have you got similar level of education, do you आपके Islamic viewpoints, your sons, your hobbies, the way you want to live your life, how you want to bring up your children, what your viewpoints and things are. These things all need to be discussed. Now let's talk about the barriers, because we are now moving into the second part of this session today. The barriers of finding love and marriage. I have been told, so this is, please comment anybody who's watching, but this is what I have been told are the biggest difficulties for Muslims in finding love and in marriage and getting married. Firstly, is that this point that I was just talking about just now, about getting to know and meeting. Firstly, there's the hadith about Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He met this man who was about to get married, and he said, yeah, I'm about to get married. And the man said, have you met the girl yet? And he said, no, I haven't even met her. And he said, go and see her. So the first thing is liking the appearance, right? Parents, please, your child has a right to be attracted to and like the partner that are going to get married. Islam allows that, and Islam encourages that, because Islam knows that when you have attractive compatibility and you find your spouse, khoobsurat, you find your spouse attractive, that is going to be a very, very good base going forward for the actual marriage to be successful, because your children are going to look like that spouse, you'll be staring in that face for the rest of your life. So it's very, very important actually, and it's a shame that people don't give that importance. Now I'm going to say something which is very controversial, so agree with me or don't agree with me, it's entirely up to you. But I have done some research, psychologist Dr. Doug Lyle, who's a PhD in natural selection on finding a partner and how people choose partners. And I'm going to do a whole session on this, because I think people really struggle with this issue of, my daughter is pretty, for example, she looks like this and she wants someone who's handsome and is of a level, or my son is like this and he wants a girl that looks like this. Now, what you've got to understand is, this is not, your ladki is not doing nakhra, your beta is not doing nakhra. What's happening here is a natural biological response to finding a partner and a mate who is going to be biologically fit. This is a natural process which human beings go through. It's part of their animalistic biology, which they're made up of. And yes, I'm going to move on to the other requirements: piousness, khandan, and lineage, and wealth and status. All those things we are going to look at. I'm not ignoring them. But the first thing, as we know, is always first initially the look and the appearance of somebody. So, parents out there, if you have got your heart set on so and so rishta, maybe it's your sister's son, or maybe it's your taya ka, maybe you promised somebody, your cousin, but do remember, matlab hai sare log Pakistan mein bhi, right, if your child does not find the certain cousin that you've got your heart set on, then you should find an alternative suitable partner that your actual child does find attractive, because it's a very important point. The other point is that it says in Islam, isn't it, that you can marry for lineage, for nobility, for wealth, for appearance, but the best amongst you is those who marry the pious people. So do not forget the compatibility that you are looking for in your spouse, whether you are a girl or whether you're a boy, is whether that person actually follows Islam. Don't forget that when somebody follows the rules of Islam, because Islam makes family, matlab family is the bunyad of the whole of the society, and it's the family structure that we have seen that has been destroyed both in UK, USA, in these Western countries, that we can see what are the issues that are arising. But this is also happening within Hamari communities, maybe who this is happening with us as well. So we have to do something, which I think is that we have to break down what are the barriers, कौन सी चीज़ें are making this मामला जो इतना मुश्किल होना नहीं चाहिए. But I can tell you from all the people जिनसे मैंने बातें करी हैं, ये मामला खुद अपनी शादी करना या अपने बच्चों की शादी करवाना is the सबसे मुश्किल मामला which is coming up again and again and again, and people are wringing their hands. They actually do not know what to do, and this is the reason why. Number one, right? Many people are gone to a point now where getting married is a massive expense, right? In the UK, in the Western world, and in Pakistan as well, in India and Bangladesh, getting married is expensive business, right? And you know what? It shouldn't be a business. We have to remember that we have been told what is the right and wrong and the process of going back to get married. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said nikahs should be simple, very simple. There should be no boj or any pressure on the ladki wale, right? But what happens is it's the opposite. In fact, when I was younger, I didn't even know about Hakmer. You know, when you grow up, and we have been really, our community has had a huge disservice. The Muslim community, who have indulged, including myself, watching Bollywood movies where people cannot tell the difference. They don't know whether Jahez is Jais, they don't know what Hakmer is. Half the people when they're younger think they need to have Saad Pere or something like that. So the thing is that I know that now people are becoming educated now, and a lot of people do not watch these movies anymore, but there is still a huge amount of cultural incorrectness. And that first cultural incorrectness is that the nikah should be simple. The Hakmer is the amount that is written by the groom, by the doula, right? That is written by their family, and that is the woman's right on the basis of the fact that in case something goes wrong. So don't forget the marriage is there to protect both the man and the woman, but mainly the woman and the children. This is where Surah An-Nisa, this is where all the rights for the women were given 1400 years ago, and the rights to the children. Because don't forget, back in the Jahila, back for more than 1400 years ago, the Arabs had hundreds of wives and hundreds of slave women, and this was the natural fitra of how people were behaving. And Islam came along, and we will one day talk about the topic of four shadiyan, but let's put it simple. Islam came along and stopped the situation of hundreds of wives and slave women, and restricted it to four very strictly, and even said have one if you cannot manage to treat four equally. So Islam came along to create that monogamous, that beautiful relationship between a man and woman, and protect the children going forward. Why did Islam need to do that? Well, let's look at another modern day problem. Now, that modern day problem is that the natural biology of men is that often the boys are often not ready to get married. They're often not ready to get married because they cannot commit, right? They might be physically ready to get married. However, they may not have completed their education yet. They may not have a job yet, and they may not feel that they're ready to take on the huge responsibility of looking after family. When that happens, the problem that arises is that because the man's body has already developed, he's already baligh when he's about 15, then that timing between 15 and 20 something, 25 by the time, those 10 years are a really, really difficult period, because at that point in time at college and university, the boy is not ready to get married yet, but he still has physical needs and desires. So he will often come across to the girls as someone who is looking to get married, but this is the difficulty that the girls have. The girls are biologically made up to always be looking 100% for a partner that is going to commit to them, marry them, stay with them, bring up their children, be faithful, and not leave them. Right? And this is the biggest worry that the parents have. The parents of the girls are always, always worried that someone is going to come along and do all chupti chupri baatein, yes, I like you, all the rest of it, even under the sarbarah, even under the chaperone of the parents. This is happening under the parents' eyes as well. Yes, we want to marry your daughter, and then फिर लंबी चोरी engagements हो जाती हैं, लंबी चोरी कहानियां शुरू हो जाती हैं, right? This is where parents need to educate, right? So who are we educating? First, we need to educate the girls. The girls need to have full, and this is part of the parenting lecture, which we're going to continue doing about communication. The girls need to talk to their parents. They need to talk to their mums, and the mums and dads need to talk to their girls, and they need to make it very, very clear okay, what is jaiz in Islam, what is allowed and what is not allowed, and what your goal is and what your focus is. Because if you are going to college and you think, now, let's not forget, it does happen. People do actually fall in love at college and at university or with colleagues or at work. It doesn't mean that it doesn't happen. If that situation does get to that point and two people are young and they're capable and they do want to get married, you need to speak to the parents before it gets out of hand. So what we will do is that we will do a whole separate session on zina, which is all the 4 stages of how shaitan leads you to the path of zina. But let's just briefly cover it now, the 4 stages. Firstly, you like somebody, कोई तुम्हें पसंद आता है college में, university में या काम पे, right? So you really, really like them appearance wise. They could be hijabi, they could have a beard. That is no restriction. You can like somebody and be attracted to someone. This happens to everyone, especially people who are looking to get married and are young. This is a natural thing that's going to happen. However, the second stage, what is the second stage towards the next? When you like somebody, what do you want to do? बस दिल चाहता है हर वक्त उसके साथ बातें करने को. So चिट चैट बस लगे हुए, right? On the phone, on the messenger. Be aware, ladies and gentlemen, be aware that actually if they are talking, if the girl and boy are talking on the phone or they're talking on the internet, they still need a chaperone, because the third party that's present is shaitan. So I've done a really good YouTube presentation on this. Please go and watch this. As you all know, I have a YouTube channel called Seemakhanlifevlogs, and there is a video on that about how the third party present is shaitan. Please show that to your children or watch that yourself and make sure that you know whether you follow it or not. That's absolutely fine. That's your decision as a parent, as a person. But do go and watch that, because that will really make sure to you what Islam is allowing or not allowing in terms of social media interactions. So going back to the third point, so you like the appearance of somebody, you then want to talk to them all the time. Next thing is you want to meet them. Then the other thing is because you have desire, you want to touch that person, you want to meet that person, and then that leads to zina. So that's the 4th stage. Zina is the 4th stage, and this is what we want to avoid, because we will do a whole chapter on how zina ruins families, ruins people, ruins people's actual, उनका जो सब पूरा ज़हन और पूरा वजूद है, that actually spoils them for marriage. And zina is actually the biggest barrier to not finding love in your marriage, and we will talk about that. But what else? The finances. We go back to the finances because this is a big, big thing. If I think it could start, so I'm going to give some solutions now because the finances I've been told is the biggest thing. If people could start a trend of simple nikahs, and I think the best advice I can give is to the parents of the boys, because it's very hard for the girls, you know, when the parents of the girls, they getting the girl married and a culture is set up, तो जब लोग बातें करते हैं, it's very very difficult. वो कहते हैं, you know, थोड़ा सा ये भी होना चाहिए, वो भी होना चाहिए. They don't actually ask for jahez, but the लड़के वाले are asking. So the best thing for to change society is the parents of boys who have boys. They should be very strict on themselves and say, देखो, we just want a nice girl for our son. We don't need any money. Allah ka shukr hai, we've been given so much. And whether you're rich, poor, high level, low level, everybody has got to start this trend. Basically, start with the ladke wale saying that no, we absolutely do not want anything from you, and make that rule. As this trend will start, and I've seen people doing that already, as this trend starts, then the ladke wale can say, okay, we're going to do walima, because the walima is encouraged in Islam. But even then, the ladke wale should only do how much they can afford, and ladki wale should be kind of sit back and say, okay, jitna aap log kar sakte hain, that's absolutely fine. And don't nikal kire, because the main thing is not the wedding itself, but the actual marriage to be successful. So let's remove the financial barriers. Let's remove the financial barriers of lavish weddings, and let's remove it for people. I know people in this country, Muslims and non-Muslims. There are non-Muslims, friends of mine, colleagues that I know, who have cohabited. उनके 3-3, 4-4 बच्चे हैं. They have been living together. Allah maafi de. And they have tried to save up for a wedding, and they cannot afford it. And in the end, they said, you know what, we'll just pay that money towards the mortgage, towards the house. And in the end, they have lived their whole life without getting married. This is another barrier for Muslims as well, that the weddings are so lavish and so big that people are actually delaying getting married, right? They might delay 2-3 years. By that time, it is too late for the couple, because as I've pointed out, it's very, very difficult when you're in love with someone or you're going to marry someone to stay away from them and not go towards zina. So it's so important. The biggest message that I would like to give to parents and to people who want to get married is break down the barriers. Make it easy for yourself and make it easy for your children to get married. The easier that you make it, the younger they will be able to get married. Do not forget, it is the sunnah to get married. It is the sunnah to get married young. It is the sunnah to marry somebody who is pious. It is the sunnah to marry somebody that you're attracted to. It is the sunnah to get to know the family. It is the sunnah to meet. In the sunnah, you will find all the rules and regulations that will make it easy for you to get married. It is haram and against our mazhab. It comes from Hinduism and paganism. All this Lakshmi Puja and Puja of wealth, all of this, the girl will come in the house and Lakshmi brings the money and we have the dahej and the dowry. This is all from Hinduism and paganism. This is from a mazhab that is against our religion of Islam. Everything that has got to do with Ghair Islam, we have to take it out and fight against it. And the biggest thing is all these ideas of Janam Tak and all these, love triangles in the Bollywood movies and the Hollywood as well. Hollywood telling us, that you're a princess who lives in Frozen, you will marry so and so prince and your prince will come along. All of this is fake. What's really, really true is that you have young people who have needs, physiological needs and desire to get married, to have children, to find love, to be committed. And we know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has promised that when you get married, the ladki that you bring into your home, it is your responsibility. Yeah, Allah Ta'ala has promised कि लड़की खुद अपना रिज्क और बच्चे खुद अपना रिज्क साथ लेके आते हैं. It is his promise. So we have to break down every single financial barrier and every single non-Muslim barrier, cultural, all these kind of customs, all these rawaj that are not part of Islam, we have to remove them. And the responsibility comes with us first, the parents, to educate ourselves, and us to then educate our children. And we have to communicate with your children, because the one thing that you want for your child, be it a boy or a girl, is that you want someone who's going to be wafadar, who's going to be faithful, and is going to nibah the commitments and the rights and take the rights and obligations of marriage. So thank you very much, everybody. We have actually run out of time. So much more to cover. But thank you, everybody who's joined in today and has been listening to this really, really interesting topic. We are Muslims who are going to march forward. We are going to be positive. There is always light at the end of the tunnel. And the light at the end of the tunnel is that we've been given Islam. We have been given the rules. We have been given the sunnah. And inshallah, I do dua for everybody who's looking for a rishta, everybody who's parents out there that are worried about what to do about Islam. This is the way forward. Forward thinking, correct thinking. Dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to everybody who's looking for a partner for their children. Allah ta'ala neek rishte banaye ek dusre ke liye, right? And inshallah, we will all be successful in creating a really good society going forward. Thank you for listening to me. You have been listening to Seema Khan on Seemakhanlifevlogs on this sunny day in London. It is 22 degrees. It is bright. It is sunny. And I hope you all have a really good day. Fi amanallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.